Hey there, this is Pat Ennis of Ennis Legacy Partners. Welcome to the Exit Readiness podcast. I'm here with co-host Walter Dial, who is tax partner at GRF CPAs and Advisors in Bethesda, Maryland. Our mission here on the podcast is to provide you, the business owner, with subject matter expertise on topics pertaining to building sellable business value or planning for your eventual exit from the business. We want to help you exit. We want to help you build a business that's sellable or transferable, and then exit successfully on your own terms and conditions. If you're a business owner and have one or more business partners, you more than likely have at least heard of buy-sell agreements. And hopefully you have one that's well-written, current, and one that you regularly review to make sure it still aligns with what you would want to happen, you and your business partner or partners. You might also have one if you're in process of selling your business to insiders, key employees, management team, or children. And a buy-sell agreement, as you know, provides direction to the owners and other stakeholders when the transition of an ownership interest in a business is in question. In the case of multiple owners, a buy-sell agreement can be the most important business planning document you have in place. An important aspect of an effective agreement is how the strategies for the unexpected events of death or disability of owners are going to be funded. Most often, life and disability insurance is used for the funding methods when the parties of the agreement are insurable. When insurance is used, there are some key planning issues, however, that need to be planned for. And today we want to alert you in a general sense to those planning issues, as well as a potential solution that may or may not be right for your situation, but certainly a solution that should be considered by you and your advisor team. So today's topic is, should you use a life insurance LLC when funding your buy-sell agreement?
So Pat, like a lot of the listeners, this is kind of a tough area, I think, because insurance itself, can be complicated, and these agreements can be complicated as well. So why don't we just start off? Can you just start off with kind of a description of the most common types of buy-sell agreements, just to get us started?
Yep. So there are several variations, but generally speaking, the two options that are most common are number one, entity purchase agreement, sometimes known as stock purchase agreement. And then number two, a cross purchase agreement. An entity purchase is most common because it's easiest to implement, and you'll understand more about that here in a minute or two as to why it's easier to implement, especially for situations involving 3 or more owners. It's an agreement between the business itself and the owners of the business upon a triggering event, and a triggering event can be an owner's death or permanent incapacity, disability, termination of employment, or maybe they decide to leave at some point, a lifetime transition. Well, during one of these trigger events, the agreement is the business itself agrees to purchase the interest of the departing owner at an agreed upon price that is also stipulated in the agreement. And that's a big area. We could do a whole podcast on that piece right there of just the importance of being clear on how that agreed upon price is going to be agreed upon. Is it actually going to be agreed upon price, or is it going to be a valuation done by someone like you, certified valuation specialist?
Yeah.
So in terms of funding with insurance, with an entity purchase agreement, the business would own and be the beneficiary on policies for each one of the owners. So that's an entity purchase, generally speaking. Cross purchase agreement is an agreement between the business owners in which any remaining owners, let's just use situation with death, any remaining owners must purchase the departing or deceased owner's interest at an agreed upon price again, if a triggering event occurs. And
So you could end up with like 1 million insurance policies.
well, yeah, okay. So, good next question for you to ask would be, all right, what are the pros or the advantages and cons or disadvantages of each one? And
Yep.
actually, the point you bring up is a disadvantage to the cross purchase. But let's start with the pros first. Pros of the entity purchase. That is one of them. That's one of the pros, what you just highlighted, Walter. You only need to buy one insurance policy. Well, you might buy one life, one disability, but let's just say for death, one policy on each owner. So clearly, that's much easier to implement, and it's going to be less expensive in regard to insurance premiums. Another pro for the entity purchase would be any discrepancies in insurance premiums due to age or health of the owners are spread among all the owners evenly as the business is paying the premiums. And there can also be potential tax leverage coming into your world for C Corps if the business is indeed in a lower tax bracket than individual owners. So those are pros for the entity purchase. Pros for the cross purchase are often very attractive to owners. The individual policies bought are not subject to business creditors, the claims of business creditors. Whereas in the entity purchase, because the business owns the policies, indeed, any cash in those policies would be subject to the claims of creditors. In the cross purchase, the individuals own the policies on each other, so they're not subject to business creditors' claims. Another advantage or pro for the cross purchase is surviving owners get an increased basis in the deceased interest based on fair market value. So there's an increase in basis for the surviving owners. All right. So those are the pros. Let's look at the cons real quick. And eventually what I'm going to get to is where this solution we're talking about today can address issues, some of these disadvantages on both sides of the ledger here. So the cons of each. Well, the entity purchase, it can be difficult for the survivors to obtain increased basis in acquired, if they can do it at all. Most of the time they can't. Increased basis in the acquired business interest of the deceased partner. So that's a con of the entity purchase. Policies owned by the business are subject to claims of creditors of the business. Disadvantage. If the buy-sell terminates while the insured is alive, and they want to transfer the policy from the owner, from the business owning it to the insured, there can be a transfer. It can be a taxable event because due to what's called the transfer of value rule, which if you want to explain that a little bit, you can. So those are the pros and cons of each of entity purchase versus cross purchase. Did I answer your question?
Yeah. So what do you see what do you see most companies doing? Does it matter? Does it part of it depend on the size of the company, or what are you seeing in general?
Well, yeah. I mean, if there's 3 or more owners, typically they're going to do an entity purchase because of the simplicity and the expense of all those different insurance policies and so on and so forth. Let's talk about it. It's kind of the default because it's so much easier. Even if they really want to do the cross purchase, there might be 3 or 4 partners But if you've got 4 partners and you're doing a cross purchase, just for the life insurance, that's 12 life insurance policies, 4 times 3.
Yeah.
Okay, with the cross purchase versus 4 with entity purchase. So, the stats are like 75 to 80% of all agreements are entity purchase, and that has that's a big factor in it.
Yeah.
So what's a potential solution? And that's what we want to alert you to today. We wanted to alert you to these planning issues with both and there are more, and you're going to want to, listeners, like anything else we talk about here, you're going to want to talk about these things in very specific ways with your advisors. In this case, your CPA and your business attorney and your insurance professional should all be in a conversation. So those are some of the planning issues. Now, we also want to alert you to a solution that may or may not be right for your case. And it's called, well, a couple of different things, but we're just going to call it today Special Purpose Insurance LLC, or an insurance LLC that can address some of these issues. And so here's some of the advantages to an insurance LLC. The partnership tax status exempts transfers of interest in policies to the LLC or transfers of interest in LLC to other members that would otherwise result in death proceeds being taxed due to the transfer for value rule. So, situation there, let's try to give an example.
Yeah.
If you and I are partners and one of us leaves, then the other one, if we have an LLC, an insurance LLC in place, the LLC is going to own the policies, and the LLC is going to be the beneficiary of the policies. But because it's a partnership tax status, if one of us leaves, we can take the policy with us and not violate the transfer for value rule. But when you violate the transfer for value rule, tax proceeds can be death proceeds or benefits can be taxed. And by the way, Walter, along the way here, if there's anything you interject, please do with anything that's tax related.
Yep.
So that's absolutely an advantage. And another would be, just like the entity purchase, an advantage is one policy per owner rather than each owner purchasing policies on all the other owners. But you can get the remaining owners in this case, the surviving owners would get the step up in tax basis, just like with a cross purchase, which they would not get with an entity purchase. Okay, so that's another advantage. So
that's a big deal. Yeah, that's a big deal.
You see there, you have the benefit of only buying one policy on each owner, like you do with the cross purchase, but the survivors get the step up in basis, which is an advantage of the entity purchase. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So the tax basis is equal to the purchase price of the acquired business interest from the deceased owner. There's protection, again, from personal and company creditors in this case, like you have with the entity purchase, but you don't with the cross purchase. With this, with an LLC, insurance LLC, you're protected from both personal and business creditors. And then it avoids recognition of gain for those owners who leave the related business and want to take the policies with them. So there's significant advantages. It's kind of like you can get some of the advantages of both cross purchase and entity purchase. if this is indeed the right solution for your case. Disadvantages. Are there any disadvantages to the LLC? Well, it's going to require paying your CPA. You're going to have to pay Walter, and you're going to more money than you're paying him already. And
That's an advantage.
and you're going to have to pay your business attorney. But you know, and then business owners, and so you'll need to create as well and maintain a separate legal entity, the life insurance LLC. Those are the only real disadvantages. Unless it's just not right for your particular case, and more often than not, it's going to be right. So, did I miss anything, Walter, or is there anything that you would add, or further questions you would have?
No, I think it was good. I think you did kind of mention the valuation piece, and I always find that interesting because there are a number of different ways to do it. And the other thing I was kind of wondering, in your experience, I mean, this is the type of thing that you really should be doing day one, right? I mean, I've had clients who, as someone starts to get older, they start thinking about it, and then they put it in place. But there's some advantages to doing it earlier from the cost of insurance standpoint, right? Or not really?
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. And not only that, insurance is one of the only things you can't get. You're not guaranteed to buy or to be able to get. I mean, you know, we've had situations where the owners are just uninsurable. And so they're going to have to look at other funding methods.
Yeah, right.
I've
seen that
which
too.
aren't as efficient, or there's more risk, you know, with an extended promissory note or something like that. So no, you know, I'm a big, strong believer in getting insurance. If you're at all entrepreneurial, even if you're not an entrepreneur right now, but you think you're going to be, and you're going to do it with someone else, it's best to get insurance while you can, and the younger you are, the better, because of the premiums. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, this is something, it's a document that really should be crafted from the outset and funded, hopefully with insurance, and reviewed regularly to make sure that it still represents where your business is today versus where it was when you first started, and your goals and objectives as an owner. For not just death and disability, and oftentimes the documents, as you know, address those pretty clearly and effectively, but not always the lifetime transfers. You know, if one partner is going to leave,
yeah,
and it gets oftentimes to the piece you just brought up in regard to valuations. If there's not real clarity in the document about how the company or the interest for the minority interest is going to be valued, when one of the owners leaves, it can result in a lot of conflict and relational discord, which you don't want that. So no, it's very tricky. You really need people, advisors who know this stuff. And as you know, as time has gone on, we've got more and more involved with the actual design of the advanced planning regarding the insurance. And so we can actually even do that at this point. We can, when an owner doesn't have a professional that we can work with, who knows the funding piece for buy-sell agreements, we can actually do it at this point. So that's it. Those are the planning issues that you need to be aware of. That's a potential solution. Make sure you're asking the next time you review your buy-sell agreement, or if you're forming one now, make sure to bring these issues up, the planning issues, as well as this potential solution, and see if it could be a good solution for your specific situation.
Yeah, this has been good, Pat, because I think it's something people don't always think about. It is complicated, so I think this has been a good kind of get people thinking about it and just realize that there are some important steps that need to be taken, because chances are the business owners are not all going to stay the same from start to finish. Things happen, so it's important to be have that circumstance addressed ahead of time. So this is good. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Mhm.
And listeners, as always, if you think anything we've discussed here could be appropriate for you, please contact your professional advisors. You can reach out to us also for assistance. And if you want help in maximizing the value of your business or planning for your eventual exit, you can reach Pat at 301-859-0860, and I'm at 301-951-9090. Until next time on the Exit Readiness Podcast, this is Walter Dial and Pat Ennis signing off.